Did you know that your brain is constantly working to protect you? But sometimes, in this attempt to shield you from discomfort, it actually does the opposite. Have you ever been in a relationship and caught yourself thinking, oh, it's not that bad, or maybe I'm just asking for too much, or maybe this is how love looks like over time and this is just as good as it gets and it will happen the same with someone else? Interesting enough, there is a term that we psychologists use to describe this feeling. And this term is called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is that deep, unsettling feeling you get when you're holding two contradictory beliefs at the same time. So, for example, you can think, I love this person deeply, and yet I feel completely alone. Or we have built so much together, we have so much history together, and yet I have no longer feeling emotionally safe. This person could feel like your home, and yet you find yourself feeling lost more often than not. So then, when your mind struggles to hold these conflicting truths, it experiences this real, tangible emotional discomfort. And the brain instinctive reaction is to ease that pain, to smooth it over, to smooth this contradiction. So it starts waving stories like, for example, that maybe you are overreacting, or maybe that it's not the right time to think about this or to talk about this, or maybe you start to think you are the problem. And these stories become your new reality. They are the narratives your brain uses to justify the silence, the withdrawal, the emotional distance that you're having with your partner. And these narratives, they are incredibly convincing because they protect you from confronting painful truths. So, let's slow down and think about that for a little moment. Your brain is not necessarily malicious. What it is protective. It's trying to protect you. It seeks comfort, familiarity, predictability. Even if that comfort is unhealthy, even if that familiarity is harmful, because the unknown, after all, is terrifying. Your brain would rather you stay in the no discomfort than venture into uncertain freedom. But what happens when you stay there too long? What happens is that you become very skilled in justification. Your stories get more and more creative, more elaborate. And you might say yourself that it's just a tough season that you're going through, that every couple's fights, they are normal, that things will change when your partner gets a better job, or when you have kids, or when kids leave home, or when you get that raise in your salary. But still deep down, your body, your gut, your heart knows the truth long before your mind is ready to accept it. You're feeling like it's a chronic anxiety, a fatigue, a heaviness that you can't shake off, or even you can't even understand why you feel so sad. And you know what? That's your body's language. It's quiet rebellion against the stories that your mind keeps spinning. So if you are listening to this and it's resonating, I want you to pause and check in with yourself right now. Ask yourself, how long have I been rationalizing? How long have I ignored the signals my body is sending? What is this costing me emotionally, mentally, physically in staying in this situation? Now, let's dive a little bit deeper into understanding why your mind does this. Why do we hold into relationships that cause us pain? So often, this is a thing that is rooted in fears or beliefs that were formed long ago in your life. For example, fear of abandonment or rejection, or a belief that you are unworthy or not, unworthy of genuine love or kindness. The idea that suffering or struggle is part of love. Maybe that's how you grow up, learning that. And that is why it's very important to recognize these deeper reasons and don't get the wrongdoing that can be so painful, but it's also very empowering. Understanding the why behind your rationalizations can give you clarity about what needs to change, what needs to be different. So I want you to think about this in this way. Your life is a story, and you are the author of the story, right? But for so long, you might have let someone else to hold that pen. You have let circumstances, expectations, and perhaps even fears dictate your story. Now, considering how your narrative will change if you reclaim that pen. Will you tolerate emotional neglect? Will you accept feeling alone when you are not? Will you continue dismissing your needs? It is important to understand that letting go isn't about immediate dramatic decisions. It might begin with small acknowledgements, quiet moments of honesty with yourself, and gentle boundaries here and there with your partner. It could be a conversation, it could be an expression of your needs, or it could be simply admitting the truth to yourself without immediately doing anything about it or acting on it. So in that space between realization and action, there is a room for immense growth. It's a place for possibility, for exploration. It's a place for healing. And maybe it's where you seek comfort. Talking to a friend, working with a therapist, joining a supportive community, or journaling your most honest feelings about the whole thing. There might be grief as you start this journey because you are mourning the relationship that you hope or the person that you thought they were. But grief is also a very powerful guide because it reveals what truly matters to all of us, what we deeply crave in relationships, which is authenticity, emotional intimacy, respect, and mutual understanding. As you start being honest with yourself, you will notice something remarkable, which is having so much more clarity. And when you stop rationalizing, when you let your stories unreveal, reality is going to become so much clearer. And I tell you what, it's not going to be comfortable, but it will finally feel authentic. So remember this. Admitting that something isn't working isn't an admission of defeat. It's not failure, it's not weakness. It's a strength. It's the courage to look truthfully at your life and relationships and say, this is not healthy. This is not serving me. I deserve better. This is not how love is supposed to feel. When you finally accept those truths, you are not giving up. You are reclaiming yourself. You are stepping into honesty, authenticity, and alignment. And yes, it could be terrifying. It could feel overwhelming. Most potentially will. But that fear is temporary. And it's the doorway to something infinitely better that comes with clarity and peace. So, if you are at that crossroads right now, please acknowledge it. Saying it loud. Write it down. Tell someone you trust. There is an incredible power in simply naming your truth clearly, without excuses or rationalizations. And remember, recognizing the reality of your situation doesn't mean you must immediately leave or dramatically alter your life. It just means you are no longer pretending. You are taking the first courageous step towards something different and hopefully something healthier. So, ask yourself this final question. What would it feel like to no longer have to pretend? What would it feel like to no longer have to pretend? Your answer will point you to the next steps. Not towards an ending, but towards a beginning, a new beginning. Because the moment you start honoring your truth is never the end. It's always the beginning.